is the top of the ticket. Hi, this is the top of the ticket for Thursday.
All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. What's shaking YouTube? Hopefully there's not an earthquake somewhere. Somebody would take that literally. But hopefully none of that's going on. So, quick check-in on our hurricane situation this morning. The eyes over Wilmington, basically. I got some video of some folks I know walked out in the wall as it went through Wilmington earlier this morning, or at least the beginning of it. I think it's really stalled like they were talking about. So that's going on. This is the live feed we were talking about. Breakaway Homesteads doing a live feed. They are way inland. It says they're Vass, North Carolina. But something to maybe check in on the day. Note that's in your links below if you wanted to go drop in on them. As it says here, the power's out, but what he did, if you want to look back at his previous video, the day before the storm was hooked up a Prius to set it up as a power generator. So some ingenuity, thinking in the box maybe a little bit, but also outside the box. So that was pretty cool. But still on track to dip slightly south, it looks like, and come back north. Lots of video, different water rescues and stuff. Lots of water on the coasts where people were staying away from at night. They're finally getting into in the daytime, it looked like. See what this feller's doing this morning.
Continuing breaking storm coverage brought to you by State Farm.
Power lines and trees to come on down. So we've been watching that for you. All right, here's the deal. We are in a little bit of a dry area right now. This is for some great news. But if you go off to the east of us, there's still a whole lot of rain. Don't think that this is over by any stretch of the imagination. We are still very much in the first quarter of this. We are also seeing the western part of this still producing a heavy rain as you work your way west of Wilmington, all right, and down in South Carolina. So all that is just getting loaded right now, and we've just begun this event. So whether it goes south, loops the loop, and then comes back in, we still have until Sunday to go before potentially even tapering off, maybe even Monday before tapering things off. Again, what you're seeing in front of me is rainwater that's accumulated in the parking lot of the ballast. It is not from the Cape Fear River. All right, winds are still pretty much offshore there from the east. They're not blowing upriver and holding that water in, thank goodness. But this already has been a pretty incredible storm for Wilmington standards because of the fact that we've gusted 105 miles per hour with this. That is the strongest gust since 1958 when Helene gusted to 135 miles per hour. So already with this, it's been a historic storm. And believe me, we've only just begun. If you're just joining us this morning, we've had extensive flooding in New Bern. Potentially as many as 200 water rescues in the New Bern area, okay? So many more to come. We've been talking to storm trackers in there as well to give us an idea of what's going on. The tide's going to come back up. Don't be, led into a false sense of security because the water is going to come back up. If you've got a chance to get out now in New Bern or you're already waiting for a rescue, hang in there. Hopefully it's on its way. They'll get to you, but the tide is going to come back up in the New Bern area, especially with this east wind and the storm center still going to our south. It's amazing actually how much lighter it's gotten right in through here. I'm going to talk to Postel. This is what happens when these storms come in. The eastern side of this, we saw this on the radar, was quite weak. They didn't have much with it. But now we're kind of on the northeastern side of this where we're getting a break from the rain. We'll take it because unfortunately, if you look at the radar extensively off the coast, there's still so much more to rain to go. 458,000 and counting. That's just North Carolina power outages. We've just started the game here. Just started the game with Lawrence.
All right, there's the crazy guy standing out in the middle of the storm update. I should have got that job. I'd probably have been better off. Hey, all right, check in the side chat. We got Tommy Boy 9. What's going on? Overhyped fake news. They waited a week for this, right? Well, it's still a lot of water. It's just the wind's not doing the typical hurricane damage, I think. Like he said, a lot of it's wait to be seen until how much of that water comes in, I guess you'd say. Good morning, Walter Davis. Some of this will be coming your way later in the weekend, Monday, I would say. Be on the lookout. And let's see, Alicia Clegg's with us. Good morning. How you doing? Thanks for checking back in. Run, what a joke. Daniel got as my judge. Good morning. Yeah. You did a ninja strike. Oh, I saw that, Daniel. Yeah, that's pretty vicious right there. It's a good thing you're several states away. Keep the internet trolling to a minimum. Hey, Castaway, good morning. How's things down under there? Barry Woods with us. Good morning. And I don't have a national, I don't know where they're putting the national weather map. All they have on the front page now is the hurricane tracker. They don't let us know what's going on in the rest of the country when all this is going down. But we're nice and got a cool front coming through here in our area. Midwest Prepper, good morning. What's up? Yeah, we're just checking in on the hurricane. Just watch the news guy live. So that'll be continuing to develop. As you can see, it's parked basically right over Wilmington with just a lot of rain. Winds are high, but not terrible. There was a video of the gas station coming apart. I think we watched part of this last night. Yeah, we saw some of this last night when it came through. So certain just pockets get a little more than others, it seems like, depending on how it gets hit, directional, wind and rain, etc. Everybody have a good night where you are. Sunny in 87 where Midwest Prepper is.
Back up, back up.
Incredible. I just caught it.
Oh, look at it. Look at it.
Whoa, watch out. We got one to our right here.
Wow.
Dude! Oh, let's get out of here. We got one to our right. Do we have one?
Dude's having way too much fun. Drive around looking for trouble during a hurricane. But what else is going on out in the world today would be the big question, I guess, or part of the question. So we talked about the New Mexico Observatory yesterday and that whole shutdown issue. And there's also other space things popping up on the radar, which for some reason the only links on Drudge are from British papers. What's the deal with that? But the space station might be linking, and there's been some fallout up there. Space Odyssey 2010 style. But they're saying there was a leak in late August. And the space station was losing oxygen. And as it states here, they originally thought the leak was caused by a tiny meteor. That's the original thought. That was quickly ruled out. And Russia revealed the puncture was man-made. So there's a lot of drama. They have a saboteur above the International Space Station. What are the odds? Yeah, that was... Which movie had the Americans and the Russians all up in space together, and everybody was at odds of who was doing it, and et cetera, et cetera. It's just like a space conspiracy movie. So maybe the New Mexico Observatory got footage of who was sabotaging the International Space Station. I don't know that it could be as simple as that, but it's kind of humorous now after all the things we thought we put into it. But why you would shut down the post office, I don't know. Maybe somebody left the observatory and mailed out the evidence. Russians say more extensive evidence of drilling has been found. People are hinting at possible sabotage, and an investigation is underway. They're saying that the damage is caused by a drill and could have occurred on the ground pre-launch or while in orbit. See, don't they inspect those things while they're up there? Like, shouldn't they have found that by now? Hey, Jay, what What is going on? JWatt's chat. JWatt, I haven't seen you in probably a year on the YouTube. What's going on? And you retracted your message and I didn't get a chance to read it. Yeah, Midwest. We talked about that solar observatory deal last night during the chat. Yeah, nothing to see. Your tinfoil hat can't go on tight enough to figure out that situation. But interesting that this story pops up the day after, essentially, with some high drama, whether to distract or divide, I don't know. But here is some of the Russian photographic evidence. It's like somebody using a 1/8 inch drill bit. I mean, if they could figure out if that drill was done by an English or a metric drill bit, they'd probably solve the problem, right? It says here the traces of the drilling have been found not only inside the spacecraft's living compartment. Make sure this is all going out. I hadn't checked on my feed here. Okay, JWatt, that comment will self-destruct in 1 minute. Got it. Thanks for checking in, man. It says it's a 2 millimeter hole, so it's a 2 millimeter drill bit. I blame the Russians. The American would have used an English drill bit, right? Oh, and it's not the space station itself. It's the Russian Soyuz MS-09 space vehicle. So it's a Soyuz spacecraft that's docked with the International Space Station for the last 2 months. That's got the drill bits in it. So clarifying information there. So it's actually the Russian property, not even the international side of it. So the Russians don't have to abandon their craft and stay in the International Space Station until rescue or something. Quick, someone make a movie of this, right? Kind of like Apollo 19 or something. Apollo 9. Oh, Barry Wood says spin up the Space Force. Problem solved. Thanks, Barry. I didn't even think about that. Cosmonauts did an endoscope with a hole, video surveillance. A Russian official said last week that the hole appeared to have been punctured using a drill that could have been caused deliberately or by somebody on the ground. The extent was greater than experts first feared. Explaining on the video Monday, Sergei Prokopiev, man, I can't say that last name. Prokopiev. Yeah, I'd have to hear it to say it. Explains how the crew last week located and sealed the tiny hole that created a slight loss of pressure. Can you imagine slightly losing pressure in space? Your panic button might edge up a little bit. Both sides agreed to refrain from any premature conclusions and from presenting any explanations before the investigation is fully completed. This goes back to Bikes and Bullets, continually pointing out that the Russians and the Americans are working together to get into space, but yet here on the ground, pointing each other's finger at each other in Syria. I don't know if Bikes checks in, but this might be a prelude to not so friendly space relations. There's a rocket launching on March 21st to transport 3 members of the Expedition 55 crew to the station. Let's pull up. This is a 3-minute video over here. Let's pull this up. See if we can get some audio on this. Let me mute.
AM Central Time, 11:17 a.m. Eastern Time.
Well.
First in, Sergei Prokopyev. His first moments inside the International Space Station. Prokopyev was the 231st human to board the International Space Station, followed by Alexander Gerst, with a return trip inside the station. And Serena Auñón-Chancellor, number 232 on board the International Space Station. Her first moments being greeted by her NASA colleague and station commander, Drew Feustel. A 56-degree fly around for the Soyuz spacecraft with docking scheduled just over 23 minutes from now.
Needle's going dead.
Range is minus 0.5.
It says here the title of it's astronauts repair the leak on the International Space Station, but it's just showing their docking procedures. Maybe I missed it. This is that's all the docking video. So the International Space case of mystery will continue, it looks like. So I don't know how that's going to be solved until they bring that thing down. But again, it is the Soyuz docking station. It's not the space station itself that has the now repaired leak. So that'll be something interesting to see if that follows along. Somebody yelling out for attention, as they would say. Hey, David Dunn, good morning. This is way too early for you. Man, where are you located? Hawaii? Barry says total Hollywood production. Space travel is only science fiction, smoke and mirrors. They do a pretty good job of it. And I say I got to give them credit for that. I guess it'd be like those gas leaks in Massachusetts yesterday. It's just a hit and miss thing. Which, speaking of those didn't pop up. Let's see where those on the Drudge doesn't even have those like very high on the list, which means something's up. Means something important is being discussed probably. But that's kind of odd. Let me do a quick search. The live looking cam. Anybody missed the story yesterday? Massachusetts had a series of gas explosions in housing areas. Up to 70 were the numbers yesterday. Here's a latest. It looks like one killed, 12 injured. As of this Yahoo News ABC article. Which I'm surprised it wasn't more. I don't know how you have that many random, unexpected fires and not get more casualties. An 18-year-old was killed and 12 others were injured as fires explosions tore through the area. So it says the 18-year-old was killed by a chimney crashing onto his car. He wasn't even killed by necessarily like the fire explosion itself. That's pretty bizarre. They may have yet to find other missing people. It doesn't say anything about missing people, but I don't know if they've been able to search all of them either. They've got the number down to at least 30 homes and businesses caught fire in Andover. And active fires were reported in Lawrence as of early Friday morning. So still active fires going on. Three of the victims in Andover included a firefighter and 2 other citizens. I wish I'd stopped using the term civilians. But I guess that's the only update from that. Doesn't look like any other relatively new news. David, you're on the West Coast? Yeah. Well, it's not early. Come on, the sun's up. What's the problem? I don't see any other updated stories that collaborate or contradict any of that. It's funny how you'll get when you look through the headlines of different stories, you search a story and the headlines, as you go deeper into the searches, the headlines seem to get more exotic the further away from the incident it happens. Like here's one out of Butte, Montana. It's explosions rock Massachusetts. It's all get people's attention. So that's going on. Still, hurricane tracking. It looks like he might be shutting down for the short period of time. Or he just ran a short end clip. That's pretty cool. I wonder how he does that. He's got the insert. He might be ready to go live. So,
hey folks, we're back.
Yeah, he's going live. So he'll be giving you a rundown over there. If people want to check that out. Might be discussing some things. They do have power outage, so all his good setup and whatnot. Yeah, you can do it. The term is civilians is very subordinate sounding. I would agree. It divides classes of people, and that's a problem. We have the served and the servants and the servitude and all the implications that go with it, right? You never seen Backwoods Homesteader or Breakaway Homesteader, Tommy Boy? Yeah, Breakaway Homesteader. His link's in the bottom to this video, to this live stream he's doing. So go check that out. He started 2 hours ago, so he's good for another 6 hours. If you want to check that out. No, well, David, I'm a part-time farmer. The probably makes me up always more than a regular farmer. Which is probably slightly worse. It seems like the markets are still continuing their slide sideways. Really haven't talked too much about them. We've kind of peaked up above 26,000, but not really going anywhere. I've talked about that for a long time. We're not going to go anywhere severely above that until as long as bond rates, as you can see, they're at 3 now. They've peaked up this week. They were at 2.8 something a while back. So they're creeping up there. Trump won't like that at all. Putting a crimp on his economy. Got nothing to do with it. I haven't checked in on the economic situation in quite a while, other than Venezuela and the money problems with Turkey, Argentina, all those currency problems and issues that are out there. Anybody want to go win the Mega Millions? So we'll just call this YouTube thing and buy up a state and set up a big homestead altogether. Everybody in for that? The Van Allen belt. That's the meteorites, right? Not the Van Halen belt. But nothing earth shaking, it doesn't seem like, in the financial markets. The plane cancellations are adding up. Radiation belt, the Van Allen belt's a radiation belt. Oh, that's the radiation. Oh, that's the atmosphere, as I would call it. Most of us common people would call it. What do they call that meteorite belt that you can't see? The Hagar. Yeah, the Hagar belt. The Van Hagar belt. The Van Halen belt. Right? Oh, one other thing to touch on before we cut out of here. I don't know if I can find a link on my computer here. But everybody remembers this story from Dallas last week, or 2 weeks ago now, I guess, where Dallas police officer tries supposedly go into her house, barges into another man's apartment, shoots him dead, claims he wasn't following any instructions, and that's why she shot him. Is everybody up to speed on that story a little bit? Let me see if I can find that latest disaster of a story. But supposedly some judge was foolish enough to give the police a search warrant of the man's apartment, and now they're holding up this red herring that they found marijuana in his house or his apartment. And of course, they're going to try to use that as psychological warfare against the people, as justifying the murder of an innocent man, because they've already given the cop the right to walk. And that's just a brutal story there. I'd see if I can find something that's not anywhere on the Drudge Report that I could find. And my phone doesn't link to my computer very well, as most of them don't. But that's just a shame. It's just, when people talk about the problems people have with cops, that's a prime example you can bring to them. Is like, look at this. A cop goes in and shoots a guy, basically cold-blooded murder, and they keep trying to justify it, and they find a way to try to justify it in the eyes of the public. But I can't find a current link on here for that, and I don't see it on Zero Hedge either. But while I'm looking for that, here was the funny story of the day. A professor at Southern Nevada, College of Southern Nevada, not the University of Not a Lot of Victories, UNLV, but there's another smaller college, College of Southern Nevada, where professor shot himself to protest Trump, supposedly. And I just can't fathom what was going through this fool's mind to do this. This would be like some Republican putting themselves in a communist concentration camp, a gulag, just to protest Obama. No, I can't think of a better way to say it. So this fool, another crazy socialist, goes on the rampage, but he shoots himself, fortunately, which more of them should do. But it's Mark J. Bird. It says a 69-year-old longtime sociology professor, of course, sociology professor, shot himself in the bathroom. Oh, at least he didn't do it in front of the class. I figured he got up there in front of the class and said, "I hate Donald Trump." So in the campus where he works, facing felony gun charges. It was revealed for the first time this week based on a police report. It happened on August 28th. Oh my goodness. How did this get held down for that long? Bleeding from a self-inflicted gunshot when he stumbled out of the bathroom and passed out from blood loss after students and staff reported hearing a loud noise. Inside the bathroom, campus police found a $100 bill taped to a mirror along with a note that said, "For the janitor," according to the arrest report. On the floor of the restroom was a black and white 22 caliber pistol and a spent shell casing. Oh my goodness. He shot himself with a 22 and he passed out from blood loss. Oh man. He's a lightweight. None of the witnesses initially knew Bird was armed and had shot himself, according to the report. The school was immediately put on lockdown and a campus-wide alert went out. So he was trying to teach everybody about the dangers of guns, I guess. I don't know what this fool was doing. That's, man. That's just bizarre. The mental illness that is communist liberal dogma, I guess you would say. But it's just, even places like here in Nevada, unfortunately that's in Vegas. We'll have to let Tony and Bikes and Bullets deal with that problem. Yeah, you can't understand crazy Midwest prepper. That's exactly right. So I found this Dallas story, if you didn't hear about it or not up to speed. So earlier in the week, police officer went in the wrong apartment and shot a guy because she was trying to order. Can you imagine somebody walking into your apartment, not in uniform, giving you orders, and you're like you're going to obey them, right? There was implications she was being charged with manslaughter. I don't know if that's still up for grabs yet. The 26-year-old Botham Shem Jean was the gentleman that was killed. Who was a native of St. Lucia, the island out there in the Caribbean. So probably a little bit of a language barrier. I would imagine they, speak like the Jamaicans and stuff. That probably didn't help. If you're yelling at me in my room and I'm yelling back at you, and yeah, and she shot him, I'm sure for the fear of her life, right? Going into somebody else's property. They haven't given a lot of details of how that all went down, and there's no body cam, obviously. It says here the officer was involved in another shooting in May of 2017 when a suspect took her taser. Which that's probably, yeah, you could be getting into this different realm there. That's different, but apparently this gentleman, Mr. Jean, was a member of church, was part of the singing ministry and everything, highly regarded, etc. But now they're trying to defame him, and they got a search warrant. And of course, it's an attempt to smear him. Why else would they do the search warrant? There was no suspected crime other than that of the officer entering the apartment. But they did a full search of the apartment, and they found some marijuana yesterday. And they're trying to smear his character to go before a jury and be like, well, we found this in his apartment. He was obviously a bad guy, whatever their story they're going to try to make up. But it looks like they had his funeral or viewing this past yesterday. So they did find marijuana, which could have been very well planted. If you've been following the Clash with Bow and all those James Freeman channels out of Texas, the Dallas Just Us system is very, very, I don't know, corrupt might be too light of a word to put into what's going on out there, but they definitely protect their own. The thick blue line, deep blue line, it's definitely not thin, protects its own. So we'll have to see how that strikes out, but that doesn't bode well for anybody when that's a judge obviously just protecting the officers, because there's no reason to give a search warrant into the gentleman's apartment other than the immediate crime scene, which they would have already had taped off, and the crime is against the officer, not the whole search of the apartment. That's where the whole thing of limited search warrants comes into play, and the necessity for that. But judges don't act like that. They just do what the system begs them for. Here's an interesting paragraph out of this article, an article published January 2016 of the Journal of Human Behavior and the Social Environment. Researcher Calvin Smiley, a sociology professor, unfortunately, another sociology professors don't have a good name right now, and a postdoctoral fellow, David Faulknell, described several high-profile cases in which information such as victims' criminal history, neighborhood, or even physique was used to posthumously criminalize him. So yeah, the guy's name's on him. The idea is to make him a criminal versus a victim. The case of Eric Garnier is brought up here, who was choked to death by the New York PD back in 2014. There's another prime case. The guy's murdered on the street, getting choked out by the cops, but yet he's the criminal because he had untaxed cigarettes, the system protecting its own, trying to tarnish its victims' credibility. And nowadays they just use, well, he wasn't complying as a method to, criminalize the individual. Like you had ill intent because you just weren't bowing down to what the police told you to do when there's no reason to. And now all of a sudden not doing what you're told, even when there's no violence towards the cops or anything, is now a justification for a death warrant half the time, it seems like. It's definitely Judge Dredd territory we're going into, and there's way too many that support it. They were doing the interview of the Massachusetts police chief last night on this natural gas explosion situation, and the police chief had the thick blue line flag on his uniform there, on his t-shirt, on his shirt he was wearing, and Saints had a hard time holding his tongue. And I was like, I just gonna let it ride. But yeah, they're putting that propaganda right in full force in front of the people. So any attempt they can to protect this officer is what they're going after, pretty apparently, when it's unjustified. ZPD survival. What's going on? Good morning. Mental therapist. He should have been electrocuted himself. You talking about the professor? Yeah, he's a lightweight. You can do it. Best term I can think. At least, you get hit with 22, don't bleed out, A mess like that is way more than 100 to clean up. Biological. What are we talking about, Alicia? I don't think I covered a biological issue. Yeah, have a good day there. You can do it. David Dunn says this might have been an accidental killing. David, there was no, as of now, the officer didn't say anything about him producing a firearm, and there's been no mention of a gun. It says he's unarmed in all the accounts, and the way it goes is he wasn't obeying her commands, so she shot him. Which I would imagine he's probably coming up in her face going, "What are you doing in my apartment?" Because again, she wasn't in uniform. It was completely off hours. So yeah, accidental is one way to put it, but it also she was charged with manslaughter, though, I believe. Alicia, was she handcuffed, arrested? I believe so. She was arrested. It says here Sunday. The thing is, when this is her same apartment complex. She lives in the same apartment complex. How many times have you ever walked in the wrong door when she's lived there for how long? I mean, I guess it's possible if she just lived there for like 2 weeks or a week, like which way's left, which way's right. You get confused, but the numbers tell the tale. There's a number on the door, right? There's lots of conspiracy behind this that, like it's another police informant taken out. It's somebody that had something on another cop somewhere that got taken out. Stuff like that. There's lots because of the crookedness of the Dallas area just us system. She was released from jail Sunday evening of posting a $300,000 bond. Manslaughter was the latest charge that I saw. So apparently there was a witness and video evidence presented to the prosecutors. So apparently somebody was in the area enough to at least get some video of some sort, maybe from a distance or something. But I wouldn't doubt. Okay, wait a second. It says here she was still in uniform in this version. But still, don't be coming into my place and expecting a warm welcome. You know? Oh, oh, right. Putting the 100 on the. Oh, you're talking about the $100 bill he put for the cleanup. I got you, Alicia. Is this for the janitor's labor? Well, they'd probably bring in a professional crew to do that. The janitor probably just pocketed the 100. Actually, the 100 probably ended up in the evidence locker. It probably didn't even make it to the janitor. Unfortunately, it'd been better to hand it to the janitor than walk in the bathroom. Yeah, David, she might have accidentally reached for her taser gun and took her pistol out, right? Yeah, the Oakland killing, that was the Fruitvale was the Oakland killing, right? Yeah, that's all accidents. Yeah, I don't buy that one at all. But I'm sure she smelled marijuana coming from the apartment and decided to go in by herself and be the hero and, you know, take out the subject. You know? All right, folks. We'll try to get all those links in the description box. Keep everybody up to date. Don't get involved with the Just Us system if you don't have to. Stay alert, stay alive, as Wes S. Wes S. says, stay alive, don't die. Who says stay alert, stay alive? But anyway, yeah, do all those things. Have a good weekend if we don't see you out here on the YouTubes through the weekend or anything. Go check out Breakaway Homesteader. Looks like he's back to just a live stream. He did a little commentary earlier. But he'll probably be checking in and out through the day. Looks like he ended about 15 minutes ago on his commentary from his side comments. It's like the wind's picking up there. But again, he is off grid right now, no power, and getting his stuff running. So that'll be something good to check in and out on, seeing how that works. And we'll check in on the rest of the storm through the weekend, and Monday morning we'll be back here with you, and y'all be good if we don't see you anywhere else. Live free.